Hi, I'm Nick Schulz at the American Enterprise Institute, and I'm here with my colleague Charles Murray. Charles, welcome to this Google chat.
This is my first one.
All right, well, let's hope it's a good one. We're here to talk about early childhood education, universal pre-K. The president, in his State of the Union address, announced a big push for federal support for early childhood education, universal preschool and the like. And in a lot of the commentary that's been happening after the announcement, there's been talk about some of the social science that supposedly undergirds support for universal pre-K. Now, you're a little bit skeptical about, to say the least, I should say, about what this social science research tells us. Just tell us a little bit about your view on this.
Yeah, I won't go as far as saying it's snake oil, because I should say at the outset that I think that a really first-rate preschool program can have lasting effects, but they aren't big. They aren't huge. They don't, the idea that, oh, we're going to cut imprisonment rates by 30%, this kind of thing. It goes back to a couple of studies that are almost half a century old. One is Perry Preschool, that is half a century old. The other is Abecedarian Project, which was in the 1970s. These two projects have become famous. I mean, people who don't know anything about any other aspect of educational research have often heard of Perry Preschool and Abecedarian. Nick, there were 57 people in the treatment group in Perry Preschool. There were 58 in Abecedarian. The programs were...
You're pointing that out. You're saying these are very small.
Tiny. That's a tiny number. Do you realize if your control group and your experimental groups are that small, how few discrepancies it takes in the equivalence of the control group to just throw off the results completely? Just a few kids. Well, on top of that, the evaluations of those programs were conducted by the people who were running the program. I am not saying they were corrupt. I'm not saying they lied. I'm saying there is an old maxim that no person should be a judge in his own case. These days, if you have an evaluation of a program that you have done yourself, of your own program, nobody takes it seriously. We're talking about doing a national program based on these two evaluations from all those years ago. Well, the fact is we've had lots of work done since then. And the best of that work was a program called the Infant Health Development Project, which took the Abecedarian approach, really very intensive intervention starting at the age of a few months and continuing on for the first 3 years. And they did it with large samples. And they have an 18-year-old follow-up now. What's happened to these infants 18 years later? It was done by outside evaluators, very rigorous, no effect.
And it was a much bigger.
Yeah. In this case, we had sample sizes in the treatment group of 377, 608 in the control group. It was a very, very well done program and evaluation, and it had no non-trivial effects on the kids. Now, as I said at the beginning, I still think that good preschool programs can have an effect, but maybe, Nick, the most salient point of all is if you're going to do a national preschool program, it's going to look like Head Start. Because these demonstration projects, they have, really motivated administrators, they have handpicked staffs. You're going to get Head Start. Well, we now have an evaluation of Head Start, mandated by Congress. The most rigorous ever done. Was released just before Christmas of 2012. It was held back until after the election for a very good reason. This very, very technically rigorous evaluation of Head Start says that by third grade, there are no discernible effects on the kids who are given access to the program. Effectively, no. Out of 94 different measures, one was really significant and strong evidence positive, and one was really significant negative. No real effect.
One of the arguments in favor of this push for early childhood education is that programs that try to make a difference later on in somebody's life, say in high school or middle school, those have no effect. So there's all this. There's a realization that those are are worthless, basically. So the argument is, we'll take all that money and put it into these early childhood interventions because those hold more promise.
Yeah.
Are you sympathetic to that, or is that just still throwing good money after bad?
I am sympathetic with the need to have done a good job of assessing what we can expect to accomplish. My position is we have done a good job. We have a pretty good grip on what can be done with the very best programs, which is disappointingly little but not zero. And we have a really good grip on what can be done with a nationally implementable program. And the answer to that is long-term effects are zilch. I think we know the answers to those questions now.
Now, you have at the time of this discussion, the piece has not yet been published, but you'll have a piece coming out pretty soon, which talks about this discussion that we're having about early childhood education. And you say that there's been all this enthusiasm for all this research showing these effects on kids from early childhood education. Would you pour some cold water on? And then you say there's this other body of social science literature that's basically been ignored by people that's extremely relevant to this discussion. Talk about that body of research.
This body of literature is different in every way. It's huge. I mean, we're talking hundreds of technical articles in peer-reviewed journals. It tells a very consistent story. It's replicable. And what is it telling us? It's telling us that the best way to help small children to flourish is to be born to two married parents, which sounds really simple when it's people like you and me talking, because we both agree on that anyway. But if you go out into the larger world, you are talking about a place where to have a baby without a father is morally completely neutral. That there's no reason why you can't raise the baby just as well as a married couple if you have enough resources. The social science in this issue is really, really clear, and that's not true. It's not to say that you don't have lots of women who do a great job of raising kids on their own. They do. We're talking statistical tendencies. But the statistical tendencies are that kids flourish better in environments where they have a father and a mother, preferably the biological parents. And under those conditions, you do get big effects on emotional health of the child, on likelihood of drug abuse goes down, likelihood of delinquency goes down, likelihood of graduating high school goes up, employability as an adult goes up, and by significant amounts. You know, we are straining at gnats and swallowing elephants, trying to find anything we can do with preschool education that makes any kind of difference, and having a hard time. And we know that one of the most powerful social programs for helping children is to encourage births to married couples. And nobody's going to do that.
So the argument might be then, well, there's not a whole lot we could do about that. I mean, we can put money into federally backed, federally supported early childhood education that we can argue over whether or not it's going to have a sustained effect. And you're saying that's not. But well, when it comes to the family, what can we realistically do from a policy standpoint? But you have some thoughts on it.
A modest proposal. It's not from a policy standpoint. Congress is not going to do anything that makes any difference to that. But the opinion leaders in this country could do something very modest. They could start to treat births to unmarried women as being as unhealthy as smoking. I mean, the opinion elites have no problem whatsoever demonizing smokers. I mean, why are these poor people standing outside in the cold and wind and rain smoking their cigarettes instead of being allowed in the building? We've had a great success in having social pressure that has reduced smoking enormously. So I'm not asking the opinion elites to demonize single women. I'm not asking them to become scolds. But you know what? If they disapprove of movies and television shows that portray smoking as glamorous, why don't they just disapprove in exactly the same way movies and television shows that have single pregnant women treated as sweet and doing something that is sweet and without any implications that there's a problem associated with that. I use the smoking comparison just because It's really kind of ludicrous. Bringing a life into the world has moral gravity than choosing to smoke. But since smoking seems to be one thing that the opinion leaders can be judgmental about, maybe I can say it's okay to be at least as judgmental about something so important to children.
So, Charles, last question for you. If you know, the president has obviously made this a very big part of his second term agenda. If you could give him any advice, what would it be?
The idea of Barack Obama listening to anything I have to say is crazy. All right.
Well, he listens to Jim Heckman of the University of Chicago, who does listen to you.
Yeah, no, Jim Heckman doesn't listen to me either. Look, the money we are spending on Head Start is not accomplishing anything important in the life chances of children, period. All right? If you want to keep that program just because it provides a nurturing environment for children who don't have that environment at home, okay, make that case. Prove that these environments are warm and nurturing, and I will not go to the barricades to stop funding for Head Start. But let's just be realistic about what it's doing. And the second thing is, talk about an opinion leader. President of the United States has the bully pulpit. He has the biggest bullhorn of all. If the President of the United States started to disapprove of single unmarried pregnancies as much as he disapproves of smoking, of course he does smoke, doesn't he? But if he would do that on a national basis, that would be one of the most important contributions his administration could make.
Okay. Charles Murray, thank you for taking this time.
It's been fun.